Hello, my name is Chris Brauckley. My company is Admira Design Group Limited. We are a design-specific company, but we've worked in many countries. We've done some amazingly interesting projects. Most of our work here in New Zealand is pure masonry homes. These are homes that I've built. Over the years, I've built 35 homes with my own company. Now I just do the design project management, and I also have my own cabinet making groups. Our interior fit-outs are mildly famous around New Zealand. We've had a lot of recognition. We don't use particle board, solid bamboo, solid timber, and other very high quality materials built to last for generations. We've had a lot of recognition from various magazines and whatnot. But getting back to the block, the Ziegel just means clay block. So there's like 12 companies around the planet that make this block, different profiles, but more or less the same system. You'll notice the blocks don't have mortar. And that's very interesting. The company here, Zhuo, has been around for 150 odd years. They're still digging the clay out of the same hole in the ground they were doing back then. The clay is mixed with water, extruded like pasta through a very powerful machine, sliced into the block form, and baked. The clay baking is interesting because clay cannot grow mold. It breathes beautifully, and it does not get the sort of problems with leaky, wet buildings that we're experiencing in New Zealand. And this is very wonderful that it's been proven so well in Europe. Here in New Zealand, I always plaster my projects, but back in Europe, you can actually do them naked clay block, no plaster, and they're incredibly comfortable because the block is so efficient. So we put down a waffle pod slab and then lay the first course to a laser level. Now you'll notice the blocks are not a mortar system, as I mentioned. They're a ceramic adhesive. If you tried to break the adhesive, you'd have to smash the entire wall because you cannot break that joint. The steel runs through the slab, up the wall, and then around the bond beam, and the concrete's poured into there. On a single-story house, you then lock the trusses into that structure. On a multi-story house, we bring in pre-stressed concrete slabs called Unispan, and then the concrete is poured over the top of that. It's called Unispan because that final pour of concrete unifies the entire building. This is the same type of floor as used on multi-level parking garages. So you can imagine this is an incredibly strong floor, also acoustically very soundproof. Here is a German diagram. I've left it in the German language, but what it's essentially saying is if the outside temperature moves 15 degrees, the inside temperature will only move around 4 degrees. In New Zealand, we're experiencing more like 3 degrees. So between the middle of summer and the middle of winter, you're only looking at a 3-degree change, which means it needs virtually no cooling and very little, if any, heating. People will actually go right through winter in many of the European countries with just a jumper on. We in New Zealand tend to like to be all comfy, and so we tend to put a little bit of heat in there. We're using a lot of infrared and very effective, very cost-efficient heating because you do not need a lot of heating in these houses and virtually no cooling at all. There is a huge amount of documentation available, of course. This has got a very long track record, and as I mentioned, it's being accepted around the world. And interestingly, it's used in the UK particularly for its speed. You can build a house with just a few guys in a month because the blocks are so fast to lay. They're cut with a diamond saw, there's no mortar work to do, and so the entire house, there's no jib, there's no pink bats, there's no other stuff to do. The structure is superior but also cheaper because it's so much more labor saving. Here's some of the documentation that we can send you. There's a whole lot more available. You can do your own homework, but if I can help by answering any questions, please do let me know. Our company, Admira Design Group, then does what we call design project management, from the PowerPoints to the lighting, to the kitchen, to the bathroom, to the cabinetry, to the finishes. We have our own sources, we have our own quality control, and we work with a client through the entire project to get everything perfect. Thank you very much for your time. If I can help with any more questions, please don't hesitate to ask.